Ladies and gentlemen, disrespect comes in many forms. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes it's hidden behind a smile. But no matter how it shows up, you have the power to decide how you respond. Let's talk about 5 strong ways to handle it without lowering yourself to the same level. The first way is to pause before reacting. Disrespect often wants an instant reaction because that's where it gains power. But when you take a second to breathe, collect yourself, and let the initial sting pass, you take control of the situation. That pause protects you from saying or doing something you'll regret. It shows that you're steady, not shaken. The second way is to respond with calm confidence. Disrespect thrives on chaos, on pushing your buttons, but a calm tone, steady voice, relaxed posture sends a message louder than shouting ever could. You're not meeting fire with fire. You're showing that you don't need to raise your voice to raise your worth. Confidence doesn't always look like aggression. Often it looks like composure. The third way is to set clear boundaries. People treat you the way you allow them to. If someone continues to cross the line, it's not just about what they're doing, it's about what you're tolerating. Boundaries don't have to be rude or harsh. They can be direct and respectful. A simple, "I'm not going to accept being spoken to like that," is often enough to make your point. The fourth way is to choose silence when needed. Not every disrespectful comment deserves your energy. Sometimes silence is the strongest answer because it shows that the words didn't penetrate your sense of self. Silence can feel uncomfortable in the moment, but it leaves the other person with their own words echoing back at them. And often that echo is louder than any comeback you could deliver. The fifth way is to walk away with self-respect. There are times when the best response isn't a response at all, it's distance. Walking away doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're wise enough to value your peace over pointless battles. You don't have to prove yourself to someone who has already decided not to respect you. By leaving, you protect your energy and keep your dignity intact. At the end of the day, disrespect will happen. It's part of life. But how you respond is what defines you. Strong responses aren't about proving how tough you are. They're about proving how much self-respect you carry. Remember this: your calm, your boundaries, your silence, and your willingness to walk away are not signs of weakness. They're signs of strength. Thank you. When someone disrespects you, the natural instinct is to react immediately. Your heart beats faster, your face heats up, and words rush to your tongue before you even realize it. But that exact moment, the one where emotion wants to take over, is the most important moment of all. This is where strength is tested. Pausing before reacting may sound simple, but it is one of the hardest and most powerful things you can do when faced with disrespect. Think of it this way: disrespect is often like bait. It's dangled in front of you to pull you into an argument, to knock you off balance, to make you lose control. And the second you snap back without thinking, you've taken the bait. You've given the other person exactly what they wanted: your peace, your energy, and your focus. But when you pause, you disrupt that pattern. You break the cycle. Instead of letting the other person lead, you take back control and make them adjust to you. That pause is not weakness. It's strength disguised as silence. When you pause, you give yourself room to choose your response instead of being driven by impulse. You allow the emotional wave to rise and then pass. Because emotions are like waves. They peak and then they fall. If you speak at the peak, you'll most likely regret your words later. But if you wait for the fall, your response will carry clarity instead of chaos. You're not running away from the moment, you're preparing to own it. There's also power in what the pause communicates. Imagine someone tries to provoke you, expecting you to explode, but instead, you stay quiet, calm, and thoughtful. That unsettles them. They realize you're not someone who can be controlled with cheap disrespect. The pause speaks louder than an angry comeback ever could. It says, "You don't control me. My emotions don't belong to you." In practical terms, a pause can be as small as taking a slow breath in and out before responding. It can be as subtle as looking away for a second, or choosing to say, "Let me think about how I want to respond to that." These tiny acts of self-restraint buy you time, and time is your greatest advantage. In that space, you can decide whether this person even deserves a response. And if they do, how to respond in a way that protects your dignity. The truth is, people will test you. They'll push your buttons to see if they can control your mood. But every time you pause, you prove that your buttons belong to you, not them. You don't have to match disrespect with disrespect. You don't have to let someone else's poor behavior drag you down to their level. By pausing, you create a gap where your wisdom, your patience, and your character can step in. So the next time disrespect comes your way, remember this: you don't have to be the fastest to speak. You just have to be the strongest to wait. That pause is not empty, it's full of power. It's your moment to show that your peace is more important than their provocation. Your calm is louder than their chaos, and your self-control is stronger than their attempt to shake you. And in that moment, you win without even raising your voice. When disrespect shows up, many people think the best way to handle it is to get louder, sharper, and stronger with their words. But here's the truth: volume doesn't equal strength. Confidence isn't about how loud you can shout. It's about how steady you can stay. When you respond with calm confidence, you send a message that no amount of disrespect can shake your ground. Tone matters more than volume, because tone carries weight long after words are gone. Think about it. When someone yells at you, what stands out more, the actual words or the energy behind them? Usually it's the tone. The way something is said leaves a deeper impression than the sentence itself. That's why calm confidence is so powerful. It takes away the fuel that disrespect feeds on. Disrespect wants you rattled. It wants you emotional. It wants you to fight fire with fire. But when your tone is calm, you're not giving away your control. You're proving that you lead the interaction, not the other way around. Calm confidence doesn't mean you stay quiet or let things slide. It means you stand your ground without raising your voice. A simple, steady statement like, "I'm not going to be spoken to that way," lands heavier than a heated rant. Why? Because it's composed. It's deliberate. It shows you meant what you said. People often mistake loudness for authority. But real authority comes from conviction, not volume. You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to mean what you say. When your tone is calm, it also protects your message. In conflict, people stop listening when they feel attacked. If your response is fueled by anger, the other person only hears your emotion, not your point. But when your tone is controlled, your words cut through. They land where they need to land because they're not buried in noise. Calm confidence makes it harder for the other person to dismiss you because nothing about your delivery takes away from your message. Responding this way also teaches others how to approach you. If you're the kind of person who explodes at every insult, people know exactly how to get under your skin. But if you're the kind of person who meets disrespect with steady composure, people learn quickly that you're not easy to rattle. That alone changes the way they treat you, because they realize you won't play the game on their terms. You're setting the tone and they either match it or expose themselves as the only one out of control. In practical terms, calm confidence looks like this. You breathe before speaking. You lower your voice instead of raising it. You keep your words short and clear instead of rambling in defense. Your body language backs it up. You stand tall, shoulders relaxed, eyes steady. You don't fidget. You don't rush. Everything about you says, "I'm in control of myself." And nothing you say is going to change that. That presence is far more powerful than yelling could ever be. At the end of the day, disrespect is loud, it's messy, it's aggressive. It wants to dominate. But calm confidence cuts through the noise like a knife through glass. It proves that true strength isn't about overpowering someone else. It's about mastering yourself. And the beauty of it is that the quieter you are, the more people lean in to listen. Your calm speaks volumes. So let others raise their voices if they need to. You don't have to, because when your confidence is calm, your words carry all the power they need. Disrespect often lingers because we allow it. People treat you based on the standards you set, and if you don't set any, they will create their own. That is why setting clear boundaries is not just an option, it's a necessity. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep everyone out. They are doors that decide who gets access and under what conditions, that teach people how to treat you by what you allow. And if you never make those expectations clear, others will continue to cross the line without hesitation. Think about it. When someone speaks to you harshly and you laugh it off, they learn that this behavior is acceptable. When someone repeatedly interrupts you and you stay silent, they assume it doesn't bother you. When someone disrespects your time and you keep saying yes, you've just trained them that your boundaries are flexible. But the moment you draw a line and stick to it, everything changes. You're no longer teaching people that they can do whatever they want. You're teaching them that your respect has conditions. And one of those conditions is mutual respect. Setting Setting boundaries does not mean being rude, aggressive, or cold. It means being clear and consistent. A boundary might sound like, I'm not comfortable being spoken to that way, or I need you to respect my time if we're going to work together. These aren't attacks, they're directions. They aren't designed to shame the other person. They're designed to protect your self-worth. And here's the truth. If someone values you, they will adjust. If they don't, they'll resist. And that resistance reveals more about them than it does about you. The hardest part of setting boundaries isn't saying the words, it's sticking to them. People will test you, they'll push back, they'll try to make you feel guilty for standing up for yourself. That's where many people fold because they mistake guilt for kindness. But holding firm is the real kindness to yourself. You're not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. You're only responsible for maintaining them. The moment you let guilt break your line, you've sent the message that your limits are negotiable. And once that happens, people will push even harder. Boundaries also free you from resentment. Without them, you end up carrying anger, frustration, and bitterness toward people who consistently disrespect you. But with them, you protect your peace. You no longer feel used or undervalued because you've created rules for how others can show up in your life. You've said, this is the line. If you can't respect it, you can't stay close. And that clarity doesn't just protect your relationships, it strengthens them. Healthy people respect healthy boundaries. At the end of the day, setting clear boundaries is about respect. Respect for yourself and respect for others. You cannot demand from people what you don't first require of yourself. If you value your time, your voice, and your worth, you show others how to value it too. And if someone refuses to honor those boundaries, they're not rejecting your rules. They're rejecting your respect. That's not someone you need to hold close. So don't be afraid to draw the line. Boundaries are not a sign of selfishness. They are a sign of strength. They are the silent teachers of every relationship you have, because they show people exactly how to treat you. And the clearer your boundaries, the clearer your life becomes. Silence is one of the most underrated tools you have when dealing with disrespect. We live in a world that tells us to always clap back, always defend ourselves, always have the last word. But the truth is, not every comment deserves your energy, and not every battle is worth fighting. Sometimes the strongest, most confident response is no response at all. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. It shows that your self-control is greater than their attempt to provoke you. When someone disrespects you, they're often looking for a reaction. They want to see if they can shake you, if they can pull you into their storm. If you immediately fire back, you've given them exactly what they wanted. You've allowed them to set the tone. But when you choose silence, you flip the script. You take away their power because now they're left to sit with their own words, their own behavior, and their own discomfort. And believe me, silence makes people more uncomfortable than shouting ever will. Choosing silence doesn't mean you're ignoring the problem or letting people walk all over you. It means you're deciding that the disrespect is beneath you. You're making a conscious choice not to waste time, not to waste energy, and not to lower yourself to someone else's level. Silence communicates that their words didn't hit as hard as they thought they would. It tells them without you having to say a word that you are untouchable. In practical terms, silence can look like pausing in a conversation and letting the other person hear the weight of what they just. It can look like not responding to a rude message or not engaging in gossip that drags you down. It can look like walking away from a heated argument instead of fueling it with more words. Every time you choose silence in these moments, you're saying, my peace matters more than your noise. It takes maturity to understand that silence is not surrender. Many people confuse being quiet with being weak, but in reality, silence is often the louder voice. Think about the last time you said something harsh in anger and the other person didn't respond. That silence stayed with you, didn't? You replayed your words, you thought about what you said, and maybe you even felt regret. That's the power silence has. It forces reflection not on you, but on the one who disrespected you. The key is knowing when silence is the right answer. If a person is committed to misunderstanding you, no amount of words will change their mind. If someone's intent is to insult you, debating them only feeds the disrespect. Silence, in those cases, protects your dignity. You don't owe everyone an explanation, and you don't need to prove your worth to anyone who can't see it. Sometimes, silence is simply you refusing to audition for someone who doesn't deserve your presence. At the end of the day, your energy is precious. Don't waste it on comments that don't deserve your attention. Not every voice deserves your response, and not every insult deserves your time. Choosing silence doesn't mean you lost the argument. It means you refused to participate in one that didn't matter. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. And the more you practice it, the more peace you'll carry. Disrespect often pulls conversations into a dark corner, where nothing productive comes out of it. The more you focus on the insult, the more power you give it. But here's the thing, you don't have to stay in that corner. You can redirect the conversation and shift the focus from disrespect to constructive dialogue. That shift doesn't just protect your peace. It also gives the other person a chance to rise to a better level. You're essentially saying, I hear the negativity, but I'm choosing to steer this in a healthier direction. That is strength, not submission. When someone throws disrespect at you, it's easy to lock in on the rudeness and let the entire interaction revolve around. But if you do that, you're stuck playing defense, and the conversation becomes a battle instead of a bridge. Redirecting allows you to move the conversation away from attacks and towards solutions. For example, instead of arguing over a disrespectful tone, you can say, I want to focus on solving the problem, not trading insults. That statement makes it clear where you stand. You're not here to fight, you're here to fix. Redirecting also teaches others how to engage with you. It signals that if they want your attention, they need to bring something constructive to the table. If they continue with disrespect, they'll quickly see that it doesn't get a reaction. It just gets ignored or rerouted. That in itself can shift behavior, because people eventually learn that the only way to be heard by you is through respect. This approach is not about dismissing disrespect or pretending it didn't happen. It's about choosing not to let it dominate the conversation. You acknowledge it briefly, but you don't give it the spotlight. You keep your focus on the bigger picture, whether that's solving a workplace issue, maintaining a healthy relationship, or simply keeping your dignity intact. You're not avoiding conflict. You're reshaping it into something useful. In practical terms, redirecting might sound like, I hear your frustration, but let's talk about how we can fix this. Or, we can argue about the way that was said, or we can focus on the solution. What do you want to do? These types of responses take the oxygen out of the disrespect and breathe life into a more constructive dialogue. You're refusing to waste energy on the insult and instead channeling it into resolution. What makes this powerful is that it disarms people. Many times disrespect is thrown out to derail or to provoke. But when you don't bite the bait and instead redirect, it throws them off balance. They expected a fight, but instead, they're faced with composure and clarity. And that shift forces them to either rise to your level or expose that they never had anything meaningful to contribute in the first place. At the end of the day, conversations go where you lead them. If you lead them into arguments, they stay there. If you lead them towards solutions, they follow. Redirecting doesn't just protect you, it elevates the whole dialogue. It shows that you're not here to waste time on disrespect. You're here to build, not break. And when you can take something negative and turn it into something constructive, you prove that your influence is stronger than their insult. That is real control, and that is real strength. There are moments when no words, no clever comebacks, and no explanations will make a difference. You could argue all day, defend yourself 100 times, or try to reason with someone who has no intention of respecting you and still end up drained. That is why sometimes the strongest response is not to fight harder, but to walk away. Walking away with self-respect doesn't mean you've lost. It means you've chosen yourself over chaos. It means you understand that your peace is too valuable to waste on people who refuse to honor it. Many people think walking away is weakness. They believe it's giving up or letting the other person win. But in reality, it takes far more strength to step back than it does to keep swinging in a pointless battle. Anyone can argue. Anyone can scream. It takes discipline and courage to recognize that your dignity matters more than proving a point. Walking away says, I know my worth and I won't spend it here. That is not weakness, it's wisdom. When you walk away, you're not running, you're making a decision. You're saying, this environment doesn't serve me. This conversation doesn't honor me. This person doesn't value. And instead of trying to fix what's broken in them, you choose to protect what's whole in you. That choice is powerful because it reminds you that
that you are in control of who gets your time, your energy, and your presence. No one can take that from you unless you hand it over. In practical terms, walking away can look different depending on the situation. In a workplace setting, it might mean leaving a meeting when disrespect crosses the line, and addressing it later in a professional way. In a personal relationship, it might mean taking space instead of engaging in a heated argument that's only going in circles. In day-to-day interactions, it can be as simple as not responding to a stranger's insult, or refusing to continue a conversation that's turned toxic. The point isn't the distance itself, it's the self-respect behind the decision. Walking away also prevents escalation. Disrespect often feeds on back-and-forth exchanges. The longer you stay, the higher the tension rises, and soon the situation spirals out of control. By leaving, you stop the cycle. You remove yourself from the storm before it has the chance to pull you in deeper. That's not avoidance, it's choosing peace over conflict. And peace is always a stronger foundation than anger. Some people will test your boundaries just to see if you'll break. When you walk away, instead of breaking, you show them that you cannot be manipulated or dragged into their level. You show them that your self-respect is not negotiable. And sometimes that silence and distance says more than any response ever could. People remember the moment you refused to fight because it highlighted their own lack of control. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is this person or situation worth my energy? Most of the time, the answer is no. And in those moments, the greatest act of strength is to turn away with your dignity intact. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to convince anyone of your value. Walking away proves that you already know. And when you carry that kind of self-respect, no disrespect can take it from you. Disrespect is something every one of us will face at some point. But how we respond to it is what defines us. You don't have to shout to prove your worth. And you don't have to fight every battle to prove your strength. Sometimes it's about pausing before reacting, so your emotions don't control your words. Sometimes it's about answering with calm confidence, showing that tone carries more power than volume. Other times it's about setting clear boundaries, teaching people what you will and will not allow in your life. There will be moments where silence is the most powerful response, because not every comment deserves your energy. And when all else fails, you always have the option to walk away with your self-respect intact, choosing distance over destruction. Each of these responses reminds us that respect begins with how we treat ourselves. And the way we carry that self-respect sets the standard for how others treat us. The strongest person in the room is not the one who wins the argument. It's the one who never lets disrespect steal their peace.